Alfan, CT, Matthias, Julie,
Hi.
welcome to WiT. Thank you for joining us. And that was a great opener, right?
Yes.
Does it make you excited about the future? Are you part of the revolution?
We hope so.
All right, okay, so let's start off with the first question, which was at Focusrite in Amsterdam in May, or was it June? Anyway, a panel of pundits said, it would be hard to see any challenges emerge in the post-pandemic landscape to take on the big three, Booking, Expedia, and Trip, which controls 75% of the global OTA market. How do you feel about this, Alfan?
Okay. Yeah, at Traveloka, we focus in Southeast Asia. So Southeast Asia is a large region with 600 million people. So our customers in the region, they love us. They say they love the localizations that we do. They love the product mix that we bring. So I would say the growth prospect is good. That's not to say that when the time is right, we're not open to global possibilities. When the time is right, we look forward to work with partners, to collaborate, and bring the global possibilities to our users. But right now, we really just focus on the 6 markets that we are in Southeast Asia.
Okay. Well, I mean, you've raised a lot of funding in the last 2 months, right? You got PTOR in Thailand investing in you. You got the Indonesia Investment Authority in you. I mean, that's sort of some major funds coming into Traveloka. So I guess maybe the next stage is the world. So Julie, Matthias, what do you think? Anyone will come close to you? Any contenders, or are you sitting pretty on your perch?
Oh,
let's go with
There's always
Julie.
contenders, and I work specifically in the airline world, and I see my airline partners are contenders. There are local providers like Traveloka who provide a very specific service to a very specific audience, and absolutely, they are contenders, and the competition keeps us on our toes. It makes us better, and so we welcome that. We also love to collaborate with our competitors in some respects by powering some of their inventory and some of their technology. So I think there's an ecosystem in travel that's big enough for all of us to play a very big role.
And lots of collaboration going on. I mean, Matthias, you just signed a partnership with Klook, for example, as well, right?
Correct. And I'm on Julie's side. First of all, maybe just to put a little bit perspective into the whole thing, right? We're talking about the billion industry, yeah? And you mentioned kind of 75% is covered by the big three. We're still tiny, yeah, and the industry is actually growing, and a lot of still offline and not really online. So I think we're far away from kind of dominating that market. We see it in a similar way. Competition is good. We follow all the developments quite closely. There is a lot of interesting stuff actually that is hitting the market. Fintech, payment especially, there is a lot of movement in that space. We see that it's relatively easy to launch something if it's related to a specific use case, specific geographical region, focusing on a specific customer type, and maybe even not really across all devices. Once you really scale globally across regions, then it really becomes complicated. And I think one thing that we also shouldn't forget is the regulatory framework that we have to deal and that we do business in is becoming more and more strict. So it becomes more and more complex to actually scale business on a real global level. So therefore, yeah, we follow it very closely, very interesting, but yes, not really easy to really get a global footprint in a short period of time.
Right, and CT, you know, the panel also suggested that the only possible contender could be someone coming from China to a non-China world. It's not going to happen the other way around. And Trip.com is really coming from China to a non-China world. Do you see any contenders coming?
For me, what I strongly believe is that no matter who is the contender, we need to do these 3 things right. First, is able to adapt to the customer needs. Second, leverage on technologies to get a competitive edge. Third, but most important, also build a global network of suppliers for your local relevancies. So as the Trip Group, for example, we need to do our very best in making sure that we implement these 3 foundations to excel in and to win in competitions. Now, I'll give you a good example. Recent this year, TikTok come out to be a big craze globally. These are 3 things that they did, right? They're being agile. They're being very agile and adaptive to diverse consumer base. They're very innovative in terms of technologies, right? And they built a global content creators to support them, supply them, become local relevance. So in order for any contenter, whether it's from the West or the East, the person who can execute these 3 elements will win the markets.
So able to be really global and have that global scale, and then at the same time be really, really local, which has not changed, but probably the depth of localization has gone even deeper, if I could use the word, during the pandemic, right? Because it forced all of us to go really local. And I just wonder whether you'd be able to share any data, any of you, on what percentage was your business domestic pre-pandemic to now post-pandemic? Let's go with the Alfan.
Thank you. For us, Traveloka has always been predominantly domestic in all our markets except for Singapore, which is outbound. In all other markets, the domestic business is always a large majority of our business, and during pandemic, that has shifted to virtually all domestic. Now in the post-pandemic world, we see the international portion start to grow again, still smaller than the pre-pandemic as a percentage. While the staycation and the road weekend trip, which grew a lot during the pandemic, they still remain a healthy portion of our business even today.
Right.
Yeah.
So Julie and Matthias, do you think the pandemic sort of made you even better at localization, or worse?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't know if I thought about it that respect. I mean, we're definitely seeing the same trends of domestic coming back a lot sooner. But we really do think of ourselves as a global company. As markets begin to open, Japan, historically Expedia Group in 2019, we provided 7 out of 10 international travelers to Japan. So it's critically important for us to be global as well as local, as the travel patterns are going to change. So even if they were domestic at the beginning, they're just going to continue to evolve, and travelers are going to start more and more of the international. We're already seeing that in the US and EMEA, and it's going to be happening in Asia Pacific as the recovery returns.
Matthias?
Yeah, for us, localization is really big, and we realized that we need to be more focused on localization. And for us, one key area is actually the US market, where we think there is a lot of growth potential for us. Different consumer expectations, different products as well, significantly different on flights, for example, car rental, than what we see in other parts of the world. We're actually quite balanced in general, almost 50-50 international and domestic on the accommodation side. We had really challenges if I specifically look at car rental, for example. So on car rental, we're very, very much international focused, and all of a sudden everything was domestic. We're optimized based on airport pickups, for example. There was 0 airport pickups. Everything moved to downtown pickups. And our site, wasn't really optimized for that, because that was never really our core business. So that was a massive learning that we needed to take in no time, basically from today to tomorrow. So quite challenging. But obviously, I think we learned through that, and we think that actually makes us better and puts us in a better position now during the recovery period.
Excellent. So I also asked you to share a data point about something that went fast forward. So clearly, the local optimization or car rental went fast forward for you. But let's start with CT. You, share a data point or something that went fast forward in your organization that you believe will influence travel in the future.
Oh, influence travel in the future.
Yeah.
I think the 2 things here. Let me talk about on the demand side. I think the mobile adoptions has really taken up significantly during the pandemic time and also during the recovery. For Trip.com Group, we use this app-first strategy, as I mentioned previous conferences. And we see a steady growth of our app adoptions and installed throughout the pandemic time and the recovery. We have reached about 6.2 millions of installed. And also we become ranked number 10th of the most popular travel app downloads in first half of this year. We also see that previously, ctrip.com is a very high booking on mobile. It's 80%, 2 to 3 years ago, already reached that rates of booking orders. But for trip.com, which is the international market, the global market, it started with 40%, increased to 50%, and the most recent numbers got to 68%. So we can see that the mobile adoptions through the pandemic has increased quite a lot and dramatically within these 2 years itself.
Okay, well, that's definitely going to influence travel in the future. So, Julie,
Absolutely.
you shared a slide with us on what you think will influence travel. So let's go to that slide, and if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what we're seeing is this massive move on traveler expectations towards wanting flexibility. And in our industry, especially in the air side of things, historically, we didn't have a big focus on flexibility in the leisure market. People were buying non-refundable fares or fares that had really high change fees associated with them. Now, they're more and more, they're upselling into those fare classes that allow for changes, and they're creating credits. Not only the credits that were created from the beginning of the pandemic with all the cancellations, but in an ongoing way, we're seeing credits created every day. And so the technology has to pivot as well to meet this customer's expectations. Customers don't think about exchanges the way airlines think about exchanges. It's an unwieldy process behind the scenes. So we've invested in technology to make it so it's more like you're buying something on Amazon with a gift card, so that it's frictionless for the travelers and they can have that flexibility and rebook with a lot of peace of mind. So trying to become a lot more traveler-centric and how we think about these things has been a big part of it. And we have issued over $1 billion in flight credits, rebookings, since the pandemic began. So it's a big, big thing.
All right. Matthias, you shared this slide.
Yeah, and it's maybe a little bit a repetition because I know one of my colleagues attended the sustainability discussion yesterday. But I've chosen again Travel Sustainable because we really doubled down on sustainability during the past 2 years. Because we know from the most recent our Travel Sustainable report and survey that around over 70% of customers plan to travel more sustainable during the next 12 months. And for us, we think that we have an obligation to make sure that customers are informed, we need to educate them, and we need to make sure that we show sustainable travel options in a transparent way. So we established and implemented that Travel Sustainable program where we have currently more than 148,000 accommodation partners that are fully certified. They have a Travel Sustainable badge. Customers can easily search across our platform. We also doubled down on other segments, car rental, for example. We have more than 6,000 depots where we offer electric vehicles, and again, it's a badge. Customers can search that with a filter, and the same on airport taxi, where we offer airport taxi in more than 70 cities, also electric
So
vehicles.
traveler flexibility, sustainability, and Alfan, you shared this slide. Mobile first as well, so I guess very much Asia phenomenon, okay?
Definitely, yeah. For what we see is that the digital penetration has definitely grown a lot more during pandemic. It has accelerated, and with that, what we are seeing is that the customers, they do everything online. They buy everything online. That includes travel as well. And when the travel move online, what happens is that there's an increase in convenience, and with convenience, it always comes with the increase in the demand as well. So customers are traveling more, which is definitely a good thing for all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is your number higher than 68% that Trip.com was saying?
Definitely higher.
Definitely higher. How much higher?
Much higher.
Okay, all right. All right, let's, I mean, we had the opening panel talked about, the forces of change, the forces of tech that will change, and I want to talk about what you see, the tech that will go fast forward in the next 3 to 5 years. And I'm reading this fascinating book called Five Forces That Change Everything, and it said 5 forces here. Mass connectivity, bioconvergence, the emergence of bio and tech, human expansionism, which is quantum computing, deep automation, and intelligence explosion. So what tech will go fast forward in the next 3-5 years, you think, Alfan?
All of the above. Yeah, actually, I think everything.
What are you most excited by?
Okay. So what I am most excited about is that whatever the technology that comes, what we need to do is to be agile, nimble, to collaborate with the partners, to bring and harness this technology to our users, to our customers, to win the customers.
Which are you investing in most?
We are looking at all of them.
All of them, okay. CT?
I think we stay true to the mobile first, app first strategy. I think this is what we invest the most. But that's on the demand side, right? So on the supply side, I see this trend, even for ourselves, with the NDC adoptions, that direct connections with suppliers and retails. So we see that for NDC for us, we have implemented almost 20 carriers, and now become a very significant part of our booking, direct source booking. So 15% of our direct source booking come from NDC now.
Okay.
But we do face problem. If there's any airlines here, I hope there is, telling them that, yeah, this NDC standard now doesn't have solutions for scalability on search. We are OTA, we welcome people to search. But now search for them is direct cost. So there's something that the industry had to address.
So that's something that has to be fixed. What about for you, Matthias? What tech will go fast forward?
For us, and a little bit linked to the earlier sessions, AI and ML. AI, big word, right? And there I agree, it's most probably 2030. ML will happen much faster. So for us, I think we're making massive progress in machine learning. We're already doing it. We did a lot over the last 2 years. Pricing, for example, in car rental, fully on ML, 100%. Improvement in recommendations, in search, everything fully ML, ML based. So we made massive progress, but I think there is step changes are going to happen over the next 5 years.
Okay.
Where customers will really benefit in a big way because it's all about personalization.
Yeah. So talking about personalization, I think the prediction was true personalization will happen by 2030. Is that too far ahead, or do you think it will happen sooner or later? Julie, what do you think?
I think personalization will happen sooner. I think that one of the things that we're thinking about and what I'm most excited about from a technology perspective is the move towards more attribute-based shopping and search, where the travelers can actually indicate what their preferences are. And instead of showing them the cheapest fares, the cheapest room types, you show them the fares and the room types that most closely match to their needs. That's going to give them also transparency so that when they get to the hotel or the airport, they know what they're in store for. That sort of thing is not years away. That sort of thing is months away. Those are coming. Those advancements are coming fast and furious, and travelers are demanding it. They demand to know what they're buying and if they're getting the value that they expect for the money they're spending.
Right. So I know this is not a new topic, but it's worth sort of digging into it because I'm seeing a lot of startups come into this flight space, right? And I was interested in one detail in Expedia's second quarter results, and it said that lodging accounted for 75% of total revenue, and the remaining revenue came from advertising and media, which was 7%, and air was just 3%. So really, really small percentage of revenues. So if it's such a small part of revenues for a giant OTA like Expedia, why are there so many intermediaries and why so many startups coming into this space?
Well, I think that the new world that we're talking about here is new ways of thinking about how you can monetize airline sales. And it's not just about traditional air revenue. Air can be an enabler to selling other products, such as accommodations or fintech, or that sort of thing. Airlines can also be partners for us in different ways, where we power their websites with our technology. So if you think about air in a very narrow commission-based environment, yeah, it's a small percentage. But air is a really important part of our business. It's growing. And you know, if you go to Expedia, it's in the logo. So I'm always very confident that air is a very important part of our business.
All right. And CT and Alfan, I mean, how big probably you can't share numbers, right? But how big is air as part of percentage of our revenues compared with lodging?
Air is big for us, definitely is big for us, and we remain very excited, very optimistic about air, because in this region, 600 million people, there are a lot of people that haven't even taken their first flight. So we are definitely very, very excited about the possibilities.
CT?
Well, because China domestic travel is so great that, of course, for us in the Trip.com group side, air has been significant portions of our revenue, almost is equal as the hotel side.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Matthias, is interesting, right? Booking.com, you started off with a relentless focus on accommodation. I remember Glenn Fogel speaking here 10 years ago and say, focus, 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 right? And now you're talking about the connected trip or continuous or persistent trip, right? What's the progress so far? What's still disconnected in whatever you're trying to stitch together?
You call it what is still disconnected. I say, what can we still connect better?
I'm a journalist. I look at negative side of things.
No, during the last 2 years, just talking about flights, for example, we had no flight business 3 years ago. We scaled that massively. We just launched the 50th country where we offer flights. And why is flight so important? Not really financially, right, because commissions are low, but it's an amazing anchor product, yeah, that actually drives new customers into the platform. So the last 2 years was really very much on scaling these additional verticals. For us, the focus was on flights, attractions. You mentioned the Klook cooperation that we announced on Monday. Also car rental, airport taxi. We started the brand new insurance business. So we have now all the ingredients that we need for the connected trip. Now, you could say, well, you're maybe a late follower because some of my colleagues here on the stage do that already for a very long time. Yes, putting on a shelf is one thing, right? And then offering all these verticals, you can book them independently. The thing is really, how do you create a very easy customer journey to combine all these different segments together? And I think this is where we're really investing a lot of time. And then not to forget, right? One thing, and this is still fairly easy, is search, book, pay. But the big thing is actually post-book, servicing all these bookings. And I think, again, it was mentioned on the earlier panel, very easy. I'm here in Singapore and I can just add additional elements to my trip. It's not a separate booking, but I just add it to my existing trip. Yes, but again, the servicing aspect, because we create a significant expectation, right, by combining all these things together and tell the customer, hey, it's easy, it's seamless, everything in one record. Servicing aspect, really, really, really hard, and that's where we need to focus over the next couple of years.
So I just want to trigger the audience poll here and ask you as travelers, do you really want the connected trip? Is it a yes, no, or we're just doing it because we want to sell more stuff to the same traveler? Before we go into that, actually, CT, we have a comment on NDC, and it says that NDC does work when deployed without relying on the GDS infrastructure. So we have a comment from, but we, okay, so.
Well, that's why it does work. It's 15% of my direct source right now.
15% of your direct,
of my direct
15%,
source.
okay.
Yeah.
So there's a question here. Are you considering further collaboration with transportation apps like Grab or Gojek to further localize your offering to the domestic users? So perhaps we can go to you for that question.
We definitely continue to explore. Right now, for our travels, we have airport transfer, car rentals. We have also introduced Quick Ride, which is a taxi hailing in Indonesia, to help our customers to travel to their destinations. We are always open and consider the further collaborations.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about payment, because that seems to be what you were saying too, is like, air is that upper funnel and then bring in, and then you want to add, fin services and all that. I know Traveloka has been very, very active in that. You launched Buy Now, Pay Later in 2018. So tell us, give us an insight in your customer behavior that you're seeing on your fintech services.
So we launched the Buy Now, Pay Later, or we call it Pay Later, in 2018, because we look at our data, we see that majority of our customers, they make their booking, they pay with bank transfer. So they go to ATM and transfer the payment. And The reason being is that many of them do not actually have credit cards. So credit card penetration is only 6% in Indonesia, much lower than developing world and even lower than APAC region. So with this, actually, we introduced the buy now, pay later. We are seeing the more interest there. We see a longer booking window as well, so it enables people to book, to lock their rates early. And it is not only in Traveloka, we are seeing that the buy now, pay later is really taking off in Indonesia. The buy now, pay later penetration continue to grow. And in some recent survey that we see, buy now, pay later is expected to overtake credit card penetration by end of this year in Indonesia. So we are very excited. We see a lot of opportunities moving forward.
Right. There's such a meltdown in buy now, pay later businesses right now in Asia. There was so much competition coming in. Matthias, Booking Holdings, you set up a separate arm for payments itself. How is that progressing, if you can share?
Yeah, so we established Booking Holdings Financial Services. They power our paid by booking kind of solution. And again, I mentioned it before, it's the regulatory framework gets tighter and tighter and tighter, and this is kind of enabler for us to really offer payment in a very regulatory, safe and secure way on a global scale.
Right. And CT, are you excited about, as the previous panel was about Web3, and how it might solve some of the cross-border payment problems in Asia or across the world, CT?
Well, I would say cross-border. I wouldn't use the word cross-border. I think borderless would be the right word to use. So let me give you an example. We talk about a lot on the demand side. Let's talk about the supply side. Even right now, I'm actually quite surprised after the pandemic, during the recovery, airlines are more susceptible to talking about card payment, negotiated merchant card payments. Reason because it's actually the speed of getting the money, the guarantees that they have. Working directly with our direct suppliers. So this is something that's changing, and we think it's borderless now. It's not just about cross-border.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap up, and I'm going to, I gave you some homework, and I asked you to send me an image of what you think the new world of travel will look like in 5 years. So let's go to Julie's slide first. And this is what Julie feels the world will look like.
So this is the new world and the old world, because I think it's an evergreen concept that travel is truly a force for good. And we learned that a really hard way over the course of the last 3 years. We missed it. We could see that it was we felt acutely the absence of travel. And travel will continue to be a force for good. And I think everybody in this room is going to be a part of that.
Absolutely. Matthias, you sent this slide.
Yeah. That's the slide that I selected. One completely new travel segment that we will see and that will grow. We're confident about that over the next 5 years. Thanks to the hybrid way of working, people will be more mobile, will work from all over the world, and they want to do it. Hopefully they do it in a very sustainable way.
All right. And Alfan, you shared this.
What we look forward is continue to be a fast, convenient, but also sustainable mode of tourism.
Okay, that's very difficult to balance, but we should focus on that green part a lot more, I think. And CT, you shared this one. Wow, is that you? Which one is you? Which one is you?
Just high-tech travel. I believe that in future, going to space is actually no longer a dream, actually, with space travel. So technology is actually bringing into the travel industries.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap up very quickly since we have some time. Okay, so rapid fire. What's the one thing you wish would go fast forward?
I wish that disruptions and labor shortages would be addressed.
Okay.
For me, it's like there is a lot of legacy technology that we all need to deal with. So kind of tech modernization, if we find a way to accelerate that, that would be great.
Okay.
China border opening.
Yes! Yes! Yes, everyone! And Alfan?
Sustainable travel.
Thank you. Thank you, Alfan, CT, Matthias, and Julie. Thank you.
This is Amadeus.